she is punished and she is stoned to death. And according to the Sharia again, when it comes to women, there must be a hole dug in the earth, in the ground, and she must be covered up to the half of the body.
The Muslims are coming. The Muslims are coming. Oh my goodness, and they are. You know, it's time to get ready for a conflict, people. Whether you want it or not, it's a coming. But just what is it that we're going to be a-fighting, huh? Well, I'll tell you, it's Sharia. It's what the Muslims want, and believe me, it's not what you want. And anyway, though, there's a lot of talk about this floating around on X, so I thought I'd do a vid overviewing the topic of Sharia for all the noobs, which would include me, by the way. So here we go. Sharia is Islamic law. It is the religious legal system that governs the political, social, and moral duties of faithful Muslims. It is what is meant by God's law. So there you have it right there. They're going to fuck you, and God's going to pat them on the back for doing it. And to them, a government that limits God's law in any way is an enemy of Allah and must be fought. The establishment of Sharia is a fundamental objective of every Islamic terror group. Actually, it's the fundamental objective of any Islamic group. Once an Islamic State is in place, the Quran and Sharia make it mandatory for Muslims to fight those Jews and Christians, those pesky old Jews and Christians who will not convert or accept inferior status. And by inferior status, they mean being converted into a dhimmi. You have to pay a tax, and you have to walk around with your head down, and and if you can't pay the tax, then you have to convert, or they kill you. But anyway, Sharia is explicitly opposed to religious freedom, freedom of conscience, and the free exchange of ideas. It is violent, openly bigoted toward non-Muslims, discriminatory, and unflinchingly sexist. Large sections deal with the practice of slavery. None of this changes by affixing a phobia label or otherwise insulting detractors. And there's a lot of the Sharia I've discovered that isn't translated into English. They've never translated it into English, so you really don't know. And of course, they did that deliberately to keep people like you and me from being able to find out what it's really all about. But the practice of slavery is very much allowed, and I don't know, the more I get to digging around, it's actually kind of encouraged. So here goes. Now, let's just say for the sake of argument, you have the misfortune of being born a Muslim and raised as a Muslim. Or, heaven forbid, you convert. Well, buddy, you're shit out of luck because you ain't going anywhere. When a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed. There is no punishment for killing an apostate, since it is killing someone who deserves to die anyway. Acts that define leaving Islam and being subject to execution include, now get this, to intend to commit unbelief, even if in the future, to deny the existence of Allah or any of His attributes. In other words, if, let's just say that if Allah had a big male member and you denied his attribute and said he had a little tiny male member, then, you're going to get something cut off, and it won't be your male member, be your head. To be sarcastic about Allah's name, His commands, His interdiction, or His threat. To deny any verse of the Quran. Now, there's all kinds of shit in that thing that are just as fucked up and wrong as they can be, historically. But if you deny any verse of it, then you're going to die, man. You're worthy of death. It's like they deliberately seek to change history. It's the ultimate totalitarian society. To mockingly say, I don't know what faith is. Oh, I don't know what faith is. Dead. To believe that things in themselves or by their own nature have any causal influence independent from the will of Allah. So, you believe in evolution? Well, too bad. You're a Gnostic and you think the old devil made the world the way it is, like me? Well, too bad. Fortunately for me, I've never converted, and I hope to never be given that choice. I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. Is jihad. Y'all heard about jihad. Yeehaw. But anyway, it is the process of forcing other people to be Muslims. And it can be done militarily. It can be done politically. But it is always done one way or another. The head honcho makes war upon Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians until they become Muslims or pay the non-Muslim poll tax in accordance with the word of Allah Most High. And I quote here, "Fight those who do not believe in Allah and the last day, and who forbid not what Allah and his messenger have forbidden, who do not practice the religion of truth, being those who have been given the book, until they pay the poll tax out of hand and are humbled." In other words, if you're a Jew or Christian, you can at least keep your religion as long as you have to pay the tax and walk around with your head down and, basically kiss everyone's ass like a third-class citizen, which is what you will be. Anyone else, the Caliph fights all other people until they become Muslims. So if you're not a Christian or a Jew, they're going to get you. The king, the Caliph, fights all other people until they become Muslim. And you're seeing it now. In Europe, in England, they're starting to get their numbers are starting to get high enough that they can actually go out and start to project political power. And so what you'll do, you'll see them getting out on the street, making a big old deal on the street and laying down and praying in the street and blocking traffic. Well, that's jihad. Tearing down churches, burning churches down, tearing down crosses. That's jihad. Making people scared, because that's what they do. I've read it several times in the Quran. It teaches people to try to terrorize non-Muslims, to create a chilling effect. They go out and murder 2 or 3 people, and everybody else becomes kind of scared, and they stay inside, and they don't say anything. Oh, we'll just let it go. It doesn't matter. And in doing that, their influence and power are aggrandized.
أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات يعلمهما كيفما شاء ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب.
And by the way, in case I didn't specify, everything discussed in this video is an element of Sharia. They all fall under the umbrella of Sharia. Now, let's talk about the women folks, because, boy, they sure spend a lot of time talking about the women folks. Just about everything about this religion has something to do with sex, really. Sex or killing. That's really about it. Oh, my goodness. The Muslim concept of heaven is a great big whorehouse. It's literally a great big orgy, a great big whorehouse in the sky where you can go in and get yourself some you-know-what every day. I mean, the Vikings, their concept of heaven was to fight all day and kill each other on a big field, and then at the end of the day, they'd all come back to life and go back into the mead hall and get drunk and then the next day go back out and do it again because that's what they like. They thought about fighting. Well, the Muslims, they think about, getting some what. And so their concept of heaven is just a great big whorehouse. Can you believe it? They'll sit around and tell you that you can't commit adultery, the women, but then, or that sex outside marriage is wrong. They'll say that here on earth, but then when they die, they get to go out, they get to go up to heaven and just wallow in orgiastic glee. But let's go over some of these particulars here. A woman may not conduct her own marriage, meaning that she is not free to marry by choice. A male guardian is required to validate the marriage agreement. A woman is not free to choose her guardian. It is assigned by family relation. Once she is married, she becomes the charge of her husband's guardianship. It is not lawful for a wife to leave the house except by permission of her husband. A woman has no right to custody of her children from a previous marriage when she remarries, assuming she gets divorced for some reason. And they do have divorce. The man can divorce. I think the woman can too. Maybe. When a husband notices signs of rebelliousness in his wife, he warns her in words. If she commits rebelliousness, he keeps from sleeping with her without words, and may hit her, but not in a way that injures her, meaning he may not break bones, wound her, or cause the flow of blood. Oh, that's so nice. That's just so nice, man. They're very liberal. And I suppose maybe in the 6th century that would have been considered some degree of liberality, but, that's been over 1,000 years ago. Now let's not forget sex and honor killing. Hey, there it is again, sex. The following are not subject to retaliation or penalty. A father or mother, or their fathers or mothers, for killing their offspring or offspring's offspring. Okay, so under Sharia law, you have the perfect right, you have the immutable, God-given right to kill your kids when you want to. Whenever you want to. And it's kind of funny. Unless I'm mistaken, the vast majority of Muslims don't believe in abortion, and yet their Sharia law specifically says that you can kill them after they're born if you want to. And not just your kids, your grandkids too. And then the penalty for adultery is stoning. The penalty for unmarried sex or fornication is 100 lashes. 100 lashes is a lot of lashes, depending on the instrument by which they're delivered. But anyway, and you know what they do? I've never seen one of a man being stoned for that. Only women. Seen a lot of gay guys get stoned on X, but never for adultery. Everything's for the man. Next is slavery. A large section of the Sharia is devoted to the codifying of the practice of slavery. The reliance of the traveler omits these rules from the English language translation, perhaps to obscure the comfortable relationship between Islam and slavery. However, parts from other sections address both the capture of slaves and the sanctioning of forced conversion under obvious duress. In other words, there's tons of stuff about slavery in the Sharia law, but it hadn't been translated, so you don't get to know what it is. All right, now here is Sheikh Salah Al-Fawaza, member of the Senior Council of Clerics in Saudi Arabia, the highest religious body. And of course, in case you don't know, Saudi Arabia is like Israel for the Arabs, and the people who run things over there are considered to be authoritative. So let's just read what he has to say. Slavery is a part of Islam. Slavery is a part of jihad. and jihad will remain as long as there is Islam. Those who argue that slavery has been abolished are ignorant, not scholars. They were merely writers. Whoever says such a thing is an infidel. So in other words, if you don't believe in slavery, then you ain't a Muslim. You're an infidel. Which is kind of incongruous with the wokey-dokey mentality today, which bases its entire rejection of Western culture on the practice of slavery. And you know, even if those people were shown, I think even if those people were shown what I've just read you, they wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't care. Allah Akbar.
مصطلح الإرهاب فلا علاقة للإسلام به أبدا إلا في إرهاب العدو. قال وأعدوا لهم ما استطعتم من قوة ومن رباط الخيل ترهبون به عدو الله وعدوكم وآخرين من دونهم لا تعلمونهم الله يعلمهم. فالإرهاب هو علة في الإعداد، علة في الإعداد العسكري، يعني هي الباعث على تشريع الإعداد العسكري. أما ما يطلق عليه الإرهاب وأنه يعني واحد مسلم من أصل شيشاني قطع راس كافر غلط على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بسموه إرهاب. طب هذا شرف عظيم له وللمسلمين أجمعين أن وجد مثل هذا الشاب الذي يدافع عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، وكما وجد عبر التاريخ رجال ونساء يدافعون عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وعن حرمته وعن شرفه. فهذه مصطلحات سيتم إعادة هندستها عندما تعلو كلمة الله على.
Next is lying. This is part of Sharia. Imagine a people who have lying down to such a fine art that they've got 6 different kinds of it. They've categorized lying into 6 different categories. Imagine that. But anyway, there are several forms of lying to non-believers that are permitted. The best known being Takaya. That's the Shia name. These circumstances are typically those that advance the cause of Islam. In some cases by gaining the trust of non-believers in order to draw out their vulnerability and defeat them. And there they are. You know, if you want to read them, you can probably just freeze frame and read them yourself. I'm not going to spend too much time reading through all of them, but there's the Tikaya, Kitman, Talriya, Taisir, Darura, and Moruna. Yeah, you might want to read those. That's in the interest of brevity. I'm not gonna go over those in detail, but you might want to look them up because believe me, they know them. You might as well know them too. Next is art and music, and there's a picture of some of them in an antiquities museum destroying priceless works of art that are thousands of years old. There they are, just bashing them. Oh my goodness, what they did in Palmyra was, God, that was an obscenity. But anyway, musical instruments are condemned. Singing or listening to singing is offensive, with the exception of songs that encourage piety. So in other words, you can't listen to any music unless it's religious music. Kind of like, you know, Holy Joe's here. They won't listen to any music unless it's Christian rock. Well, these guys, they listen to Islamic, not rock, but they listen to Islamic music, and that's it, according to their religion. Every maker of pictures will go to the fire, where a being will be set upon him for each picture he made to torment him in hell. So, boy, you know, I used to be a photographer before I became a teacher. I was a photographer for about 15 years. And I have made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not maybe even millions, of photographs of people. So I guess I'm really gonna get it, according to them. And since I'm probably gonna get it so bad anyway, I might as well go whole hog. Pictures imitate the creative act of Allah when they are of animate beings. So it's not just people, dogs, cows, chickens, hogs, snakes, bullfrogs, you name it. And it is unlawful to decorate walls with pictures, generally interpreted as being pictures of animate beings. Oh, gee, I'd like to live under this theocracy. Boy, howdy. It's all material, and it's all designed to take away any responsibility for being aware. You retreat into it, and it makes every decision for you. And that's why I think our leaders have decided that we should all be Muslims, because it makes people much more easily controllable, much more malleable. This is going to get ugly, people. This is going to get real ugly. And win or lose, we are going to have a fight on our hands. I, for one, am not going to go down without swinging all the way. Now, if you want to learn more, there is a channel called Apostate Prophet. The guy is an ex-Muslim, talks about Islam. Then there's a YouTube channel called Political Islam that you might want to read and watch. That guy, I think his name's Warner. He's pretty sharp. Who else? Oh, there's Sam Shamoun. He is the best. I don't really much like Shamoun myself personally, but I have great respect for his work. If you're a Christian and you want to learn more about Islam from a Christian perspective, he is your go-to point man, because he hits the nail right on the head. But whatever you do, educate yourself, because there's tons of information available on YouTube and Rumble. Just get out and learn as much as you can, and get ready as much as you can.
By 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. What are you going to do then? Actually, are you going to oppose Sharia even then? We have families, we are making babies. You're not. Our population is going down the slump. One day we can have a Muslim majority nation here in Canada. Right in your face.
You say that you want Sharia law to displace Canadian law. That doesn't sound very respectful.
If you are in majority, you wouldn't have any other option.